Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to be dealing with this article about the TAs, right? And if you're watching the video, you can see what I'm highlighting here. So when I say TAs, this is what I'm referring to, not teaching assistants. But the TAs kick off in 2025. It's only going to get worse, so be prepared. And this is sort of becoming the norm of a consensus amongst, most people nowadays, right? Which is, yeah, you probably should start accepting the fact. I mean, people, it also, makes it interesting to see, like, people have so much hope in Trump because they realize in the back of their mind that if he doesn't do something to undo this damage, then this place is completely through. Well, guess what? It's still completely through, pursuant to Jeremiah 51, right? Would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. And that's because the Most High struck this place with a terminal illness. But anyway, there's some pretty good and interesting points in here. And so I'm going to, jump and speak on them. Not read the whole entire article, but I'll hit certain parts in there. So it says, in December of last year, I published an article called Open Borders Have Created a TA Time Bomb in the U.S. in 2025. I noted that there was a significant confluence of events that was, in my view, leading to an explosion of TAs, just as conservatives take political power. I stated, why is 2025 becoming more and more prominent as an inception date for an attack? Which would be interesting, because typically that's what you'll see. There's a certain year and a certain date where something major happens, like today. When you hear 9/11, there's literally like the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is the so-called TA that happened, right? So there's typically a date, right, and a year, and something major happens, and it's sort of the that date that everybody remembers, right? After this day, everything changed, right? Yada yada. So that also depends on the level of the attack. So organized crime gangs are crossing the border as migrants, foreign agents and Ts slipping into the U.S. using mass immigration as a cover, leftist activists radicalized to believe they are righteous in their violence, establishment elites and covert agencies creating FFs, events, or FLAG. The conservative sweep on election day means we will inherit all the messes that Joe Biden and his handlers created, economic, political, social, and geopolitical. There will also be considerable motivation for establishment elites to create chaos from thin air while conservatives hold governmental power. And not to mention, this is on one front. This is on the front of like TAs. This is on the front of like FLAGs and so on. But you also have the pestilence part. You also have the part of, I mean, it could be considered a TA, but the part of this sort of cyber threat that's going on. Now, recently, Iran has come out and said that there's something very soon that they're going to unveil, and it's going to shock the whole world, basically. So we're going to see. They mentioned, some talks about missiles and so on. So maybe they have reached the point of developing nuclear weapons. And if that happens, Israel's not going to sit idle, playing with their thumbs. Okay, and depending on when they do unveil that, it'd be real interesting to see, how things sort of play out from there. So the author says, I believe an attack is inevitable in 2025, primarily because of the geopolitical, I think this should say bushfires, being ignited across the globe right now. There is also always the looming danger of flag events designed by covert actors trying to trick the public into blaming them on the wrong culprit. So throughout this article, he sort of gives, or the author gives like certain examples, namely how the year has begun so far, right? With the Las Vegas, right? No, the New Orleans incident, you know, and then the Trump Hotel situation where that Tesla truck, this Tesla Cybertruck or whatever, blew up, you know, and this is sort of like sounding that alarm, right? To say like it's no longer, hey, there are suspicious characters in the country and they could do something. This is sort of like the beginning of that trend where it's like, okay, you have these people in here and they're actually doing something. Right, here's one example for the New Orleans situation. I guess the individual's name was Jabbar, maybe his last name. But it says Jabbar's TA in New Orleans killed 15 people and injured dozens more, with reports that he was motivated by Islamic extremism and his goal was to send a message about the war in Gaza. See, so now it's anybody's guess, right? But now, literally, things can they've put they've put this narrative there, right? They've put it in place to where it will not be a brain shocker if some major TA happened from within the country, because the easiest thing to point to is say, well, what did you expect when you opened up that border and we warned you this was going to happen, right? So there's a story that can be painted here if something like that happened. Now you have Trump saying he's going to set up this mass deportation situation, right? And so it's it now gives a bit of a timeline to say, well, if they're going to do something, well, they had better do it fast before Trump starts his stuff. Or maybe they might do it in the midst of him doing that. Okay. So whatever, the case is, as we keep reading in here, you'll see that the author also makes some points about that certain people with certain interests using that the cover of this deportation operation as a means to then gain more authority, b infringe more upon the privacy and the rights of the people, and c incite more chaos in the midst of it and violence. Okay. So let me jump out some more and see. Yeah, I think this is the section here. So TAs and storytelling. There's a lot more of these stories, but I think we need time for the evidence to present itself. I will say that given the current evidence, the Vegas incident in particular reads as highly suspicious. Now in here, he goes into how they basically there's a different behavior when something is organic versus when it's inorganic. Certain cases they try to hide information, right? From they try to limit as much information that goes out to the public. Certain cases they are literally just like, welcome, come on in, and planting ideas and conclusions to allow the media to jump to, so that it can be pushed out there and sort of affect the perspective of people on this situation. All right. I want to jump down. There's another part in here that I found pretty interesting. Okay, yeah, here we go. I think it was, yeah. So it says here, in terms of foreign threats, the open border problem over the past 4 years has made attacks by outside elements a near guarantee, exactly as I was saying before. Biden's apathy on the border was clearly strategic and was designed to create conditions for internal strife. Yeah, it's insensical. It's not logical. Nobody sits there and just says, open it up, let everybody come through. For what? That's the real, for what? And there were a lot of information coming out about NGOs facilitating this and all of that. So, there's a lot going on over here. Anyway, when the mass deportations started under Trump, or when the mass deportations start under Trump, be ready for random attacks to skyrocket. I have no doubt whatsoever that establishment interests, various think tanks, and globalist institutions will instigate mass violence in response to deportations as a way to make the American public pay for their support of closed borders. And we're going to see. But if you stop and you look, because this is not this similar like situations are happening in different parts of the world, in Europe particularly. And what you can start to see is the world as a whole, different countries, different areas, different geological regions or whatever, they're all being destabilized. Okay, it's all getting worse, but it's happening gradually. If you actually look at maybe like a compilation of what the state of the world looks like today, you'll see that America is a third world country. You have literally people on the subway who they look like regular people, but their minds are clearly not there. So we're in the midst of stops, in between a stop where the train doors open, they go and squat in between the train and the platform and start urinating, you know, men and women alike. It's crazy how that's like a norm. People being murdered and I mean all manner of wild, crazy things that were considered big deals in the past is now like the norm. So that plan to destabilize the world, right, to collapse the world governments that these elites have, is surely in place and full effect. Um, yeah, it says here, problem, reaction, solution. Finally, be especially wary of government bureaucrats pretending they care about stopping the violence while using it as a rationale for restrictions and surveillance of American citizens. And that's typically how it works. Oh, there's this violence, there's things are out of control. We need to put it back into control. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Oh, well, we need cameras in your house. We need troops on the streets. We need tanks rolling and patrolling, and we need to set up curfews. Okay, and then if you do that, everything will be okay. Oh yeah, everything will be more than okay. Then they do that, and then they never undo it. So it says the laws we have in place are already more than enough to deal with the migrant problem or with psychotic woke activists. There is no need to diminish privacy rights, property rights, speech rights, self-defense rights, or institute martial law to accomplish a secure border and safe communities. Now, keep in mind, this is, like opinionated, right? This is a article written by somebody, and they're stating what their thoughts are. Now, I'm still reading it because it gives you an insight into the minds of people because most other articles are very similar, right? And those might also be op-eds. Now, that should then tell you something. What is causing all these people, these authors, these regular civilians, these so-called truthers to say the same thing? What is causing them to say the same thing? Like, for example, this is a random example here, right? But imagine on, I don't know, one part of New York, let's say the east part, somebody looks up and they're like, man, it might rain today. Then, you're sent to like, downtown Manhattan, and somebody else, they're walking around like, oh wow, I think it might rain today. And so you say you're able to teleport to like 5, 10, 15 people in different parts of New York, and they're all pretty much saying, damn, it might rain today. You might start to think, okay, what is it that's making everybody say it's going to rain today? And maybe you look up and then you see the clouds, the storm clouds are gathering, and you're like, oh, yeah, it might rain today. So the reason I give that example is to say there's clearly something that everybody is seeing that's making them jump to these similar conclusions about, a violent year, about chaos, about TAs, about FLAGs, about micro C-hips, all these dystopian / post-apocalyptic events. More and more people are starting to come to that same conclusion, right? So clearly there must be something, right, that is out here that is providing evidence to show people, that, even beyond, because our evidence is the scriptures, right? Faith. But you have people that don't even believe in the scriptures that are still coming to the same conclusions, right? So clearly, there's some substantial proof out here, reasoning, even a little bit of foresight for the average individual to be able to look ahead and say, yeah, it's not looking good. Um, so I'll read this last part here. It says, there are many neocons within our government that will try to use public anger over lack of safety as a catalyst for further Patriot Act like violations of our rights. All right, and so you have the fires, right, that are going on, and you can see it right here. I think somebody posted a side by side still of the size of Manhattan versus the size. Let me see if it was actually accurate. How many acres is Manhattan? Yeah, so they placed it. This is about what, 14,604 acres. And let's see how many acres. Yeah. So have been burned. Damn. Okay. So more than 35,000 acres have been burned. So if you were to put all those little areas over there in Cali that have been burned together, that would be more than twice the size of Manhattan. Okay, to sort of give a bit of perspective as to how much damage is actually going on over there. Okay, and whether orchestrated or not, the damage is still pretty real. So you have the fires, right? You have these TAs that happen at the beginning, and so you have also these talks about this the angry bird, and different kinds of ailments that are actually affecting people now. So there's a lot that's brewing, and we're gonna see, how it plays out. This is Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 3. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. See, the one thing people never want to consider is why are all these bad things happening? It's never, could it be because of something we have done? They'll even go as far as to recognize that this is divine. Maybe God is angry, but they never seem to come to the conclusion that maybe God is angry at us because of things that we've been doing. It's never that, right? Anyway, thine abominations, right? The wickedness, the unlawful deeds, the ungodly lifestyle is what's triggering these devastating judgments that are going to escalate more and more because the Lord is bringing them in his anger. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. And those wildfires are crazy, but they're nowhere in comparison to the nuclear destruction that's going to engulf this place pretty soon. That's going to be a crazy sight. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, an evil and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come. And so people need to recognize that these aren't just coincidental events happening. It's not just something that's going to pass and, decades later, you're going to look back at it like, oh, wow, remember when that happened? No, it's going to compound, until it hits a climax and then boom, through. Anyway, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.